My name is Joe Vandal, and I am the last Rosicrucian. Today this is part two of the intro to sacred sexuality. I couldn't get it all in on the first one, uh, but there's a few more important points that we have to deal with when we're dealing with sacred sexuality because it is very misunderstood. Sexuality in general is very misunderstood, and culturally, we have been taught that sexuality is bad. Okay? Uh, working with sacred sexuality and sexual energies has been termed the left hand path. But this is when you get into these things, there's so much confusion because it's like walking a razor blade. The left hand path is distinguished from the right hand path in one way. That way is the left hand path deals with sacred sexuality. The right hand path deals with crown chakra energy, that deals with spiritual light and the bringing of those two. Sacred sexuality deals with the kundalini energy. Okay? And in a way, it is properly termed to call it the left hand path if you're dealing with sexual energies. But the left hand path and the right hand path have also been termed working with evil and working with spiritual. And that's not, in other words, there's a confusion. And one of the things that we need to do is somehow separate the confusion, because in reality you could say there's two left hand paths and you could say there's two right hand paths, because one of the right hand paths could be that path where you're so spiritually bound that you're no earthly good. In other words, it's get me out of here type of thing. That's a misuse of the so-called right-hand path. And the abuse of sexual energies is very evil. I'll come out and I'll say that, and it's something that we have to deal with. We have to put an end to, because the words, maybe we need to come up with new words for these things because it doesn't work. But working with sacred sexuality and sexual energies in some context has been termed the left-hand path. But it is how males and females working together and sharing sexual energies, not necessarily physical sex, but sexual energies from being who they are, that are generated by their bodies, mental energies, emotional energies, all of the energies. How they, in the sharing of these energies, can mutually create and develop the power of their individual souls. Now that path where sacred sexuality builds the souls of both people, is totally different than the obscene abuse of human sexuality and lust currently practiced by those people, those elite, if you will, that would enslave the human race. We're talking about the difference between soulmates and divine counterparts and human trafficking. Okay? These are, that's the black and white, the day and night difference, because one of them's sacred and one of them is totally obscene. We're also talking about the difference between those who would worship life and those that would worship death. And I'll tell you right now, I worship life. Life is the most sacred thing on this planet and the most sacred thing that we have. Now, these things, sacred sexuality and working with tantric energies, they've been known by the mystery schools forever. Okay, this is not something that is new, that we're just coming out. Okay? But it's been highly kept secret. Because it could be too easily abused. And I'll kind of share an example here. Because working with these energies, the awakening of the Kundalini energy, supposedly a lot of people try and a lot of people can't do it. But that's not necessarily the reality that we're dealing in. But one of the things that we need to talk about is the abuses. Okay. For example, Aleister Crowley is considered a master. He is considered a master of the sex magic thing. And in a way, he had his Scarlet Women, and the Scarlet Women were probably like soulmates that he would go through a cycle with. So, in a certain sense, he was doing a proper thing, but no, because he was dealing with, as far as we know, he was dealing with physical sex, have physical sex, have physical sex. Okay, the true spiritual aspect of sacred sexuality is not about physical sex, at least to the very end. What it is about, it's about sharing the spirituality, the spiritual energies, sharing the mental energies, the philosophical energies, the ideas, sharing the emotions of joy, the things that, what makes a person happy, okay? Sharing these things, sharing the lower emotions, and then sharing the sensual passions, sure, and then actually sharing together. But you don't just jump into bed. And that's when people talk about, when they think about Tantra, when they think about working with sex magic and things like that, that's what they're thinking about. And that's totally crazy. Because you have to first find somebody that there's a spark between you and that person. And then you need to cultivate that spark. You cultivate that spark not by having sex. You cultivate that spark by flirting, by getting to know each other at the highest level. Because one of the truths is that partners, the exchange of energies can only take place, it's limited by if there's a highly evolved person in the relationship and the other one is not as highly evolved, the energies can only be exchanged to the lowest level. That's why partners need to be matched as highly as possible so that it can be as beautiful an experience as possible. All right? Another thing that is commonly misrepresented is that, oh, okay, there's a tantric house and everybody kind of goes and has a mass orgy or something like that. No. What happens is there's something called magical celibacy, which means you're drawn to another person, there's a spark of energy, and that needs to remain pure. The energy exchange between the two people needs to remain pure as long as the catalytic effect is taking place. Otherwise, it's muddy. Otherwise, it's not soulmate energy or divine counterpart energy. It's mud energy. It's the lowest common denominator energy. That does not build the soul. To build the soul requires soulmate energy, divine counterpart energy. What's the difference between a soulmate and a divine counterpart? A soulmate connects at a chakra level and gradually connects on all the chakras through that initial connection. And they can only go so far because there's differences. A divine counterpart is able to connect with their partner on the full spectrum, on all chakras. They got to work through them one at a time, sure, but it works there. But the thing is, and it's the energy, the spark, a divine counterpart is the energy that attracts the two people. The energy that they're working with is immense. Soulmates, the energy is very powerful also, but it's not quite as powerful as that of the divine counterpart. In fact, a lot of times people think divine counterparts are that attraction, that energetic connection is so powerful that it can only last for a small amount of time until it's done its job and it's burned out. We're going to get into all of these things later. And you have more than one soulmate. So you're going to find somebody that you can be drawn to and share, at least philosophically, spiritually, wherever you're at in the process. That's where you're going to start. So these are misconceptions. And the working with sacred sexuality in a non-physical way really is the story of the Holy Grail. And these are the things we're going to be talking about as we get into this subject. Right now I'm running out of time, so I'll close it with that. Thank you.